Hey, how you doing? It's the Wizard, and I'm here to talk about going from landscape photography to street photography. It's a major difference in the way you approach your work, in the way you develop your work. It's like day and night, basically. Not to say that one is better than the other. They're both fantastic. I mean, I've been doing landscape photography since about the age of 11, before I even knew the difference between an F stop and a bus stop. And I got to tell you that I've taken some nice stuff. I mean, like some of the stuff is behind me here, and you can see that I've done my work in black and white and color, but I prefer black and white if I can do it. Um, but street photography is a whole different area. I mean, the equipment that you use is important, isn't important. Some people will tell you, you have to use a Leica, you have to use a manual camera, you have to use autofocus, you have to use digital over film, film over digital. The bottom line is it's all bullcrap. I mean, it's not about the equipment as much as it's about the mindset. What's going on? What am I after? It's taken me a long time to figure out how to transform what I thought in my head onto my working skills. For instance, I've looked at a lot of YouTubes, which I think guys like Eric Kim, I recommend taking a look at. John Free, who is a legend as far as I'm concerned. Um, just to get an idea of the different approaches people are taking and the mindsets. My favorite photographer for street photography is Henry Cartier-Bresson, and hopefully I'm saying his name right. But it's about what he was trying to do. It's about his attempt to, when you take the picture, it's a it's a story that's being told, not just a snapshot, a full frontal, a full this. There was use of various things. One of being telling a story, leaving a question in your mind, keeping you interested in the photograph forever, and sorry about that. And his use of dynamic symmetry. If you don't know anything about dynamic symmetry, you need to look into it at least a little bit. It basically teaches you how to frame and frame it in a very artistic way. Um, there are portrait photographers that use it. It's harder to do it in street photography because everything is spontaneous. But with practice, it begins to come into play. Another big thing is selecting your images. The ones that you take, weed them out. Look for only your best. And when you print them on like a good printer like Epson that allows for archival, allows for high resolution, and now here's another thing to think about. I shoot all my street photography in film. I find that film is a shortcut, and people will tell me that I'm crazy, but when you use any other means of taking it, like digital, if you want to get black and white, which for me that's street photography. If you want to get black and white, you have to then transform it, try to get it to look like one of the beautiful films that are already out there. And, excuse me, and get it to print properly. I find that when I take film, it's already got all the properties I need. All you need is the right scanner that does the right job. I use PlusText and I use Silverfast. Once you learn how to use those, and I'll do later videos on how to use those two, because they're very important in the scanning process. But once you use those, you find that it's so much easier. You just throw in a little bit of contrast, brightness. You throw in a little bit of dodging and burning. You got the look you want already, and it's coming out in the printer basically, and it's beautiful. Just make sure you keep your resolution high in the scanning, at least 3200 for a 35 millimeter PPI. As far as equipment goes, I have like 10 cameras, and the only reason why I have 10 cameras is because I get bored with them. I sit there, I'm using my Leica, I love my Leica, and then all of a sudden I say, you know what? Let me go use my FM2. Let me go use and it just keeps me busy. But in the reality of things, just as long as it gets you what you need, it doesn't matter if you use a Kodak Brownie, as long as it gets you what you need. It's not as important as landscape photography to get everything perfect, except for what you're trying to tell people. That's the key. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the things that are going on. Don't get up into gear crap. I did. I got caught up in the gear crap. Oh, I got to get this lens. Oh, I got to get this camera. It's going to make me a better photographer. And it's done nothing to make me a better photographer. I'll tell you what helped me to transform from landscape to going in the streets. What I would do is I would be afraid to walk up to people all the time. I'd be like, people don't want me to take their picture. I don't know. What if they catch me? What if I get punched in the face? What's going to happen here? It's just not my personality to do that. And then one morning I woke up and I said, hey, why don't I make it as obvious as possible? This way it gets it out of the way. So I went out and I bought shirts and sweatshirts and had printed on them, street photographer in progress, fine art photographer, front and back. This way there was no question. They knew what I was. And the first thing I'd say, look, man, this is what I do. I'm a street photographer, and no harm to you, and it just worked a lot better. So personally, I like to use film again. Make sure that when you're out there, you practice a lot. It takes a lot of practice. You got to get out there at least once a week, and that's what people would say that's not nearly enough. But if you got a full-time job, you can do once a week. And I think it'll put you on the path to moving forward. Well, that's all I got for street photography. It's well worth the effort. In the end, I think you will be very pleased with what you do. My next video coming up is going to be how to process your film, scanning, and putting it through all the way to your printer, and coming out with something that is the same, if not better, than any darkroom you've ever seen. It doesn't take much. Everything is pretty much done for you. It's just a matter of finding a few key mysteries that nobody seems to be able to clear up. And once I clear them up for you, it's going to be like butter. So anyway, ta-ta for now, and we'll see you in the streets.